we were kind of like kicking around during the week what we wanted to talk about for the show. And this idea of like talking about Kickstarter kind of rose to the top. I think it was not only like the best idea we had to talk about, but I think the most relevant, as we're kind of entering an era of gaming where like 50% of games are just kickstarted that are good. Tons of bad games out there, but like kickstarting has become not just a mechanism for getting a game made, but it almost seems like it's an advertising tool. So I kind of want to like talk about it more. Monica, what's your ideas on Kickstarter for gaming?
I guess I like it, but I feel as though it's just one of those things where you have to be cautious still. We talked about early access last week, and I think Kickstarter actually got brought up, and we're focusing a little bit more on that in particular now. I've funded quite a few games off of Kickstarter. I would say out of the ones that I funded, about 50% I was satisfied with. Another thing is that I have personally experienced is funding a game on Kickstarter, and then when it comes out, it's in early access.
Yeah.
And that to me is just a double whammy. It feels to me like that they didn't plan well enough for how much they were actually going to need in order to really come out with the game that they were promising. And then in order to get the game that you invested in, you have to wait and kind of go through hell in order to have the final product. One game that came out recently, I was so excited about it, was We Happy Few. It came out in early access, and it's a story-based game. Lots of little small side quests and everything that you can complete. But what killed me was I started it. I was enjoying it. I was like, okay, this is, I'm entertained. I'm enjoying this. This is fun. They came out with an update and all of my progress was wiped out.
What?
All of it. I had to restart the game. And in a story-based game, that's just crazy to me. So I like it in the sense that people get to kind of decide where gaming is heading.
Okay.
Because games, it's got to be something that's interesting to people. And I think it requires more creativity because that's how you're getting your money. However, the follow through, I don't feel like is strong enough across the board yet.
Okay, just real quick, was it early access only for the investors and the funders, or was it for everybody?
Oh, honestly, I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure it was for everybody. But don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But even if it was only for the investors, the fact that your progress is wiped off in an RPG and you have to go through the same things in order to get to your progress before, and the game's not that easy, nor is it that it doesn't guide you through exceptionally well. Very frustrating.
I don't know. What about you, Josh? Where are your thoughts on Kickstarter?
Well, so last week I highlighted quite a few issues with it, but overall, I won't really hit many of those this time. I'm pretty optimistic with it. I think it's a great option, but I think you run into that type of... It's generating an industry that they're not necessarily doing it on Kickstarter. They're also kind of doing it on their own. Like you can just go directly to their website and go ahead and buy the founder's package or whatever instead of going through. You can become a founder and play alpha gameplay for $100 and it won't work.
Let's get it.
I got burned by that. I got burned by that with EverQuest Next and EverQuest Landmark. So I think the culture that is generating and these game producers going off and doing it on their own, that's the issue. I think the games that are actually following through on Kickstarter, there's a lot of projects that are successful and end up doing very well. So I think it's very promising. I think we're going to see a lot. The games that I want to play I like sandbox MMO type games, and no one's really pumping those out there.
Okay.
Like no AAA companies pumping those out there. So these companies have had to turn to Kickstarter, and it's worked out pretty well. So, and I like what I'm seeing thus far, but this is mostly, I won't really have the best opinion until about a year from now. And then we'll see.
Josh, have you heard anything? Because I'm only taking this from one person's perspective, but from a developer perspective,
right.
I've heard it's actually a little bit clicky on Kickstarter. That
yes.
If you have had success, or that if, then you get more promotion. And so you're actually not seeing a lot of the games out there that might be more interesting. And then it's an actual issue and it's not as effective. I don't know. The only thing is I'm not entirely sure what it takes to become a Kickstarter favorite.
Sure. And I think, to me, that's like one of the questions I always like think about with Kickstarter and what you guys are bringing up. Are we actually seeing like true creativity on what someone's vision is, or are they just kind of playing to the crowd? Are they playing to the people on Kickstarter that they know if I hit this mark, this mark, this mark, this is going to get funded, but it's not necessarily what my true vision is. And they kind of sell a package that's what you're buying into. But
right.
Josh, do you actually think that's what's happening, or do you think they're just like playing to the crowd?
I think a lot of projects, a lot of these bigger ones are definitely catering to a specific audience. And a lot of the features and gameplay and stuff like that they're talking about that they will deliver is worded in very specific ways. And the demo videos that they create is created in very specific ways. I think it's not really preventing creation. It's just they've got to sell it. It's just like any other type of product. They've got to sell it to you. So Again, I don't think it's hampering any type of creativity. I think we're seeing really creative games, but at the end of the day, it's a product they're trying to sell.
Okay.
So
I would be curious to hear from anyone that listens or watches the show. If you have personal experience with a development company and what your Kickstarter experience was like. So I won't name names, but the company that I had talked to that told me that they don't use Kickstarter. I mean, it wasn't because it almost seemed political.
Sure.
So, I'm curious, like what are your experiences? What have your experiences been on Kickstarter from a actual content perspective, not the purchaser?
Let me ask you guys this too about Kickstarter. Do you think like they're asking for investment into their game? And when you usually go to ask for an investor, they get a stake in your company, a cut of the profits of the game, percentages, and all this. And all we're getting as gamers throwing our money and investing in these games are kind of like bonus features. You get to get the game a month early. You get to have your first choice of the name. Here's a little castle you can also have. Do you think that's a ethical business model to approach gamers on? Or do you think that companies should start pushing the idea of, well, if you invest in this game, you get a certain percentage of the profits when it's released?
I don't think a $5 investment or a $20 investment should really get you anything beyond a thank you letter and maybe a bumper sticker. I mean, to me, no. But it would be interesting to see some higher level investor levels where you can actually
the whales.
Profit. That would be very interesting, actually. And I don't know if Kickstarter even allows that.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, they allow the real large investment options, but probably these companies will be happy to take your money and give you a little something in return if you're willing to throw that much in. But the model of donate $5, get a type of house or something that another player can't get. That's what we see in pre-ordering. We've seen that for ages. That's just the typical stuff of someone thinking that, I can be a little bit more individual. And that's what drives people to pre-order. That's what drives people to do a lot of things that will give them a little bit more customization that won't be available to everyone else.
Okay.
One of the coolest things that I've seen as far as gift on Kickstarter was that it was Deadwood. You got to actually have like one of the little guys that you fight have a name that you selected at a certain level.
Like the TV show Deadwood? Was it like a...
No, I don't know if I'm thinking the right. I think it was called Deadwood. I don't know. I'll post it up on Twitter after this so people can check it out. But if you invested a certain amount, you actually got to have one of the little people that you fight named after you, which is pretty cool. That's fun to me.
It was on Kickstarter. It was on Kickstarter. I always go back to EverQuest Next. I was supposed to have a little brick with my player's name on it. Was going to be in EverQuest Next. I was going to have a founder's title, all that stuff, and now
I'm going to look up how much money you had to invest to get that.
Yeah, it was a pretty penny to former Sony Online Entertainment / Daybreak and Games.
Yeah,
they really screwed me on that one.
You didn't get any of that?
No, they canceled EverQuest Next, and they're shutting down the Landmark game, the precursor to it, and at the end of the month.
It was supposed to be like Landmark was supposed to be Minecraft for adults. Like you can build what you want in a massive way.
Well, what it was, so they sold us on this, and there's actually a class action lawsuit going on that I may or may not be a part of. Because what it was is you bought Landmark with... Landmark was the game that they were using to build the technology. So we were literally getting an early access game to help them develop the technology, but we also would help develop the world. So we would go and build some beautiful buildings that they may or may not use in EverQuest Next. And so the thing was, invest early, get early access to EverQuest Next, help us build out the technology. And with what I bought, I would have got EverQuest Next like for free, all that stuff. And now I get nothing.
Next time you want your name on a brick and something, you should just like donate to a museum or a bench.
I want that virtual life.
I'll write your name on a brick for like $500. All right, let me know. Real quick before we move on to the review, is there a game that you invested in, kickstarted, or one you know about that you're really looking forward to coming out in the future, Monica?
Yeah, the Deadwood one that I don't think I have the right name for.
Josh?
What is it? Crowfall?
Crowfall. Yes.
Yeah, Crowfall. I'm definitely looking for that.
I'm just
Crowfall is going to be so fun.
Yes.
For me, it's Camelot Unchained. That's one I actually invested in pretty heavily. I can get I'm in all their alphas. Like I hit the high marks on it, which is the spiritual successor to Dark Age of Camelot for any of you real old school MMO nerds out there. And that's that. So Kickstarter, I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't have an issue with it yet, but yeah, exactly like what Josh said. Maybe in a year, I'll hate it.
I think some of these big players, we may see some big players falling here within the year. So
yeah, sure.